spending time with her husband, friends, family, including her 12 grandchildren. In her spare time, she connects and celebrates with the women involved in motorsports, taking you behind the wall about their journey of life, racing, and how they juggle everything to make it all work. Welcome to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Strap in, window nets up, the pedals are down, and when the green flag drops, we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with Racing Girls Rock Podcast. And it's my honor today to have as my guest, Lacey Cool. So, Lacey, I want you to start by telling us a little bit about yourself for the people that don't know you, and like your family, where you live, that kind of thing. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Lacey Cool. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. I've been racing for 6 years now. I've raced for my charity Drive for Diabetes Awareness. I just recently started racing legend cars, but for 5 years I've been racing flat oval dirt cars all over the state of Florida and up the east coast of the United States.
Okay, and so you live in Florida, and do you go to school? Do you work?
I do online school for FLVS, so I do my online school, and then I can do whatever I want throughout the rest of the day, like working on the car, going on iRacing, doing stuff to help the charity as well.
So. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So how did you get started being involved in racing?
So after my little brother Rocco passed away at the age of 1 from the doctors misdiagnosing him for the flu when he actually was going through DKA, we met a diabetic race car driver. And my dad went to Daytona. They invited him to the pits, and he got hooked on racing. So after that, we went to DeSoto Speedway in Florida. It's currently turning into the Freedom Factory right now, but we went there for 6 weeks in a row going into the pits, and we met another Drive for Diversity driver, Brooke Store, and we bought 2 of her go-karts that she was selling. And then after we did that, we've been racing go-karts for 5 years now, and now I'm in legend cars. So that's how I really started getting racing.
Okay, so Brooke Store is an amazing young woman. I had her, I interviewed her for when we were at PRI, and she's a cool young gal, isn't she?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's a good role model for, I think, a lot of girls that race. So you started racing. Now you're in legend cars, you said. So what do you like the most about driving?
So the fun factor about driving is it's the thrill of it, and the how close you are driving with everyone, and sometimes how really close the battles are with everyone. It's just the thrill of it, really.
And are there a lot of girls that race against you?
No, not really. I only knew when I was racing their go-karts, I only knew really 4 of them, probably 4 female drivers. And then in legend car, I know there's probably a lot more than I know because I've only been racing them for a short time, but I only know 2 other female race car drivers for legend cars. So, yeah.
Okay. And so where do you go to race? Do you stay in Florida or do you travel other places?
Well, in summer 2019, me and my dad and my mom, we went up to North Carolina, and we lived in our RV for 3 months up there racing at Charlotte. And then we also traveled down to South Carolina for a race. We raced at Anderson, South Carolina, Wake County Speedway. And then we are starting to race more down here in Florida as the year's going on. But we haven't really been able to race a lot because of the coronavirus. So.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about that for a minute because, we can't ignore what's happening as far as the coronavirus and how it's affecting so many things, including racing. Now, I know in the big picture, racing is not the most important thing. I get that. We have all these businesses closed, but yet racing also supports a lot of businesses and things. And so how has that affected like your family? Do you have to stay inside? Are you under the stay home, stay healthy kind of thing? Or how is it affecting you guys?
So really right now, which is 65 and older, you should stay home. Like we can still go out and do stuff. We're not really on a lockdown, as you would call it. we're just cautious about it and stuff. But that's really it. I've just been doing my schoolwork. It's really just been normal for us, really. Except my mom decides shorter times at work because her work's still open, but they don't let people in. So that's really just it. Nothing's really changed for us, but I know for some other families, it's definitely traumatically changed their life so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Michigan, we're on day, let's see, this is day 8 of the stay home, stay healthy, they call it. It makes it sound better than lockdown, I guess. But we can go to the grocery store, we can go to the pharmacist, the post office, the bank. But other than that, like the mall's closed, the restaurants are closed except for you can get takeout or you can go through a drive-through. So it's affecting, like I said to you before we started, I haven't been able to have my hair cut. I haven't gotten my nails done. Some of the typical places I go and do during the week, I can't because they're closed. So it's really affecting Michigan and the whole a lot. And when you think about that, a lot of those people that can't work are race car drivers. It's going to affect the racing this year for sure, which is a concern because my business is based on the racing community as well. So tell me a little bit about the cause that you have. I know you had a little brother that passed away. Share with the listeners as much as you're comfortable with about him and what happened and why you got started in this.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you all the full story. So what happened was, I was around the age of 3.5, 4. My little brother Rocco, he just had his first birthday. It was 2 weeks after that, and he started feeling really lethargic. He started wetting the bed, which was it was kind of normal because he was only 1, but it wasn't as normal as it used to be. And so he started getting sick and everything. So we took him to the hospital, and they said that he had the flu, so we took him back home. 4 hours later, it started to keep progressively getting worse. So my mom and dad kept taking him back to the hospital, and the doctor still kept saying, no, he has the flu. There's nothing wrong with him. Like, sometimes that's what they mostly say. So after that, we took him back to the hospital, and then they kept him in there for over 8 hours, and they still kept saying he had the flu. And then they finally checked his blood sugar, and he was at 475. So it was not good. So then he went into diabetic coma, DKA. Sorry, that's my next.
That's
but
okay.
after that, they proceeded to treat him wrong and unfortunately passed away. So now I drive for diabetic ketoacidosis survivors because my little brother passed away. So one time I raced for Christopher Legoo, his son. I raced for him. He was currently in the hospital when I raced for him. And so it just makes them feel better when I race for them and everything. So we do that. We also make brochures. We have our social medias as well. So we're just trying to get the awareness of type 1 diabetes, diabetic ketoacidosis, and the symptoms out to people.
Yeah, exactly. Because, of course, we're all concentrating on the flu at this time of where we are in the country. But so many misdiagnoses, especially at a hospital, you would think that they would do a very thorough, panel of blood draws and things. And it seems like, they really missed the boat there. So tell us a little bit about, like, if somebody's interested to learn more, where can they find out more about it? Do you have a site where you post things about diabetes, and what do you do?
Yeah, so we have our Facebook page, Drive for Diabetes Awareness. We also have our website, www.dfda.info, which is short for Drive for Diabetes Awareness. You can also look at we have a Twitter page. We also have an Instagram, and we have a YouTube, which we post most of our races on. So that's really it, where you can look as well.
Okay. And so do you raise money for the Diabetes Foundation, or do you ever go to groups and speak about it? Do you do any kind of public things like that?
So we're trying to get into talking to more groups as well, but we can't really do it right now because of the virus. But we also What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No,
I
I
have my
said
mind
that
went
was
blank.
it. You know, how do you, besides racing, are there other ways that you try to educate people about the problem? And, you know, what if somebody else went to the hospital and they kept saying it's the flu? If they knew more about it, they might be able to say, check the blood sugar, and then that would save someone's life possibly.
Yeah, so what we normally tell people is that when they go in and they think they have the flu, we tell their parents because most time it's normally the younger kids, but sometimes it is the adults. So we tell their parents to make sure they check for type 1 just in case because no matter what it is, you never know. The doctors misdiagnosed my brother, they misdiagnosed a lot of people. While it's currently flu season, it's very important because most doctors aren't looking over it. They're looking for the flu or they're looking for something else that could be wrong while it's flu season. Like when my little brother passed away, it was flu season, so they were thinking it was the flu when it really isn't because a lot of the symptoms are the exact same.
Okay, so that's the issue because the symptoms are very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lacey, I admire you for telling the story. That can't be easy, although you were young when your brother passed away, but it's still a family story that is close to your heart. And I appreciate what you're doing to try to bring awareness to everybody that you talk to or that sees your car or that hears a podcast because a lot of kids, even though it's a family, something like that, they wouldn't be as willing to talk about it. And so I appreciate that you shared that with us. So,
Oh yeah. No, oh
go
yeah.
ahead.
I've been doing this, so it's kind of just like a second nature for me to talk about it. At the beginning, it was kind of hard for my family, but it's not really that hard anymore. I would say to talk about it with people because it's more of a motivation than a sad thing to talk about.
Right,
Really.
exactly. Because we can't change the past, but we can do something to move forward and help other people in the future. And so I feel that's what you're doing. You know, you took a bad situation, your family did, and you're trying to help others. And so that's a good thing. Same as this coronavirus. I keep trying to find the positives and the good things. And there are some.
Yeah.
If we look enough, you know, there's a lot of families that are spending time together that normally probably don't spend time together. And so there's some good things coming out of a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about racing a little bit. Do you have a favorite race car driver?
I don't really have a favorite race car drivers, but I do have a couple drivers I like. Like for example, I like Chris Buescher because he's really good with his fans. Like if his PR is telling him that we need to go somewhere, he still stays there and talks with you like he's a normal person. Other than some drivers that just go by, don't look at you, and just sign whatever they want you to sign.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really more of a personal person. And then for drivers, like for driving wise, I like Kyle Busch. Not really his attitude, but his driving style. I like it because he's more aggressive than just staying back. Because when a female in racing, you need to be more aggressive because of just everything that's going on. So that's really it.
Yeah. So I've met Chris Buescher a few times. My friend Liz was the tire specialist for his team in the past few years, and so I've been through his hauler and I've met him a few times. And he is an amazing young man. I'm glad that he's one of your favorites because he does love his fans and he's just an all around really good guy. And then Kyle Busch, you know, I probably shouldn't have a favorite driver, but I've Kyle Busch has been my favorite long before I started the IWMA. So he's still my favorite driver. I try to be a little less, show a little less favoritism if I'm out doing something for IWMA. But when it comes to race day and the race is on, then that's who I'm cheering for. So interesting that we have something in common there. So
Yeah.
if someone came up to you and said, my daughter wants to race, what would be your answer to the mom, and what would be your like suggestions for them, your advice?
My suggestions is that you don't have to go full out with all the top racing like equipment. You don't need to go with a 20-foot trailer. I know some people that go out there with just a pull along trailer that's like 6 feet and just put their go-kart in there and go out there for fun. But I would say just try to get into it with a new driver that's trying to start out, because they're not going to be the best at first. It takes seat time as well as experience and desire to get to the point to where you are actually running up front with the top drivers. So I would say don't need the best car. Like, I had a 2012 Prowler for like 4 years until we started getting better equipment when we felt like we wanted to go further. So that's really the only thing I really have. I would say go into go-karting. Try not to go into anything like faster than that. Like, you can do, if you don't want to do dirt, which, because there's a lot more involved with it, you can do asphalt with them. You can also do road course with them. So that's one step that I would make to move forward, is to do go-karting first and then start moving ahead in your steps.
Right, exactly. Because even at that, let's admit it, go-karts can go pretty fast. And so to start out, I know when my granddaughters raced quarter midgets, they put restrictor plates on and things. But those carts can go pretty darn fast. And so it's a good starting point. I agree with you there for sure.
Yeah. And the thing with the go-karts with the dirt is they have the rookie plates, which is a red plate, and they're still going 30, 35 miles an hour in novice. And even in like big state races, they have like sometimes 10, maybe even more rookies out there racing on the track. And they get pretty competitive even in rookie. And then when you go from rookie to green plate, which is junior one, it's a whole big step up. You're going literally like 20 miles an hour faster in a go-kart from one step up. So that just shows how much seat time you really need to be able to progress in those classes, as well as your age.
Yeah, I totally agree, because you would think it would be little boys that would be the most aggressive, but sometimes the little girls have no fear. And so I've seen some little girls that, it's a good thing they have the restrictor plate, or they would have just been all out, going fast. And so good advice, Lacey, very good advice.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any race day routines or anything that you do? So let's say today's race day. What's your day going to look like?
So last weekend was going to be race day. I was going to be racing for London. She is a local she's from Tampa, Florida. So I would be really, right now, if it was last Saturday, I would be doing social media. I would have a banner, well, not a banner, but a poster board with her name on it. We would also have our brochures. I would be practicing, and I would be going out into the stands, passing around those brochures, just talking to fans before I go out and race. And then maybe even going out there after the race just to talk to them about other stuff as well. Just being a normal person, just going out there talking to them. And that's really what I would be doing, just talking to people about Drive for Diabetes Awareness and the charity in London right now.
Okay. So do you often have someone that you're driving for? Do you pick different people that you represent?
Not all the time. We normally go around 6 people per year. So what we're going to be doing when we get our new trailer wrapped, we're going to be putting their names on the front nose of the trailer, because we have a V-nose trailer, and they're going to be on there we're going to have the year, and then we're going to write their names down for every year. So it's just going to be like a memorabilia on the trailer for whoever he's for.
Okay, very good. That's a great idea. Absolutely. So, you're young. Tell me, how old are you? I forget.
I'm 13. I'll be turning 14 in July.
Okay, so you're almost 14 years old. You've got a lot of years of racing ahead of you if you choose to do that. Yeah. So what would be your goals for racing? Do you want to stay in the class you're in? Do you want to move up to something else? What are your racing goals?
So my racing goals, when I stay with Drive for Diabetes Awareness, the charity, as well as NASCAR Drive for Diversity, I would like to move up into their late model series, and then go to their K9 series to move forward with them. That's what my goal would be, is to move forward with NASCAR. So that's really one of my goals that I'm really going for, is just moving up with them. Okay,
that's a good goal. So I often ask young girls, though, as well, besides, because I hear that a lot. A lot of young girls want to be the next, Kyle Busch, the next NASCAR driver, etc. So if that doesn't happen, what other things are you interested in? What else do you like to do?
Well, I really like to do like four-wheeling, just really like country girl stuff, just hanging out in the woods and stuff, going camping. But also with the NASCAR Drive for Diversity, last year in 2019, I was the youngest NASCAR Young Racer Award winner, as well as the youngest NASCAR driver at the age of 12.
Okay. That's a pretty cool thing to have, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So has anybody given you any advice that's kind of stuck with you, or do you have a favorite quote that you kind of, rely on for yourself?
I don't really have a favorite quote, but I know a lot of people throughout my racing career, as I would say, have really helped me. Like, I would say Sean English, Rick English, and everyone from my local dirt track that I used to race at, they definitely have helped me with racing in general, with just not really like setups, but like with just driving in general with help, as well as iRacing in general. That's helped me. The simulator has helped me drive as well. I would say that iRacing is definitely really good. And my dad has definitely helped me as well with just everything that he's done in my whole career and just advice, as well as Curtis Houston. He's also helped me with driving. And normally when he's there at the track, I normally do my best as well because he's always helping my dad with car stuff. And he's also helping me with mental, like driving as well.
Okay. Because it's not just turning the wheel, is it? It's your thinking, it's your attitude, it's all those things put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about iRacing for a minute here because wow, hasn't that really exploded in the last couple of weeks because NASCAR's actually been televised on FS1. The NASCAR Cup drivers have been racing. Tell me a little bit about iRacing and how long have you been doing that and what kind of do you race like in a series? Do you just get on there yourself? What do you do on iRacing?
So on iRacing, I'm normally on there with my friends from Legend Car Racing and Dirt Racing. But what it is, it's a simulator where you have a electronic wheel that plugs into your computer as well as pedals, and that they also laser track. They have a laser, and they go around the track, and it's the exact same as the track that you would be racing on. So let's say you have Daytona. They put lasers around the track and they scanned it, and then they put that onto the computer and they put the cars that are almost exactly the same as they are in real life with the tire models and the way they drive. If you put those on the track, it would be just like a real racing, like you would be in a race. So that would be really it with iRacing. But I've only been racing on. I just got my account in October, but my dad's been on iRacing for I can't even remember, like since I started racing. Like I don't know how long, like over 7 years probably.
Yeah, I think iRacing started, I thought I read in 2006 maybe. So it's been around a little while. And
Yeah.
of course, I've heard of it. I'm involved in the racing community and I hear about it and I hear drivers talk about it. And I think a lot of the NASCAR, the bigger drivers, even Truck and Xfinity, I think they utilize it to learn the tracks and everything, which I think is amazing. It's so much more economical than renting a track and going to test. So
Yeah.
it makes it great for all of that. But yeah, I think I read that they gained 5,000 subscribers last week just from being on television. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they also have the 50% off membership right now because it's normally $120, I think, for the year.
Right.
But that's also getting more people to join from NASCAR. And then I think they put the 50% off there because of the NASCAR racing that's going on. So more people want to get it, which is amazing because then you have more people to race against.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I saw that they were doing the 50% off. So we'll give them a shout out. You can get 50% off your iRacing subscription. Yeah. And it's just a fun thing to do, even as a someone who's just watching as a spectator. It's fun to do when right now, we're stuck at home and there's only so much HGTV that I can watch, Lacey. And then after a while I have to do something else. So, yeah. So I would
say I was a lot more excited to watch the iRacing race than a regular NASCAR race just because it's different, but also the racing is a whole lot closer than it would be if they were racing at Texas on Sunday.
Right.
Because of how the cars are set up with the fixed setup that iRacing has. If they're driving almost the exact same line and doing the same thing, they're running within hundreds of seconds with each other. And yesterday I hosted an iRacing race with a legend car at South Boston, and everyone, I would say in the top 15, was running within the same tenth of a second of each other, just because of how close it was.
Yeah. And that's kind of the fun part. There's really no driver really has an advantage over the other one other than how he drives, how he saves tires, that kind of thing. And so I do like how that makes it a more level playing field where somebody like Timothy Hill or Garrett Smithley can outrace a Kyle Busch or a Martin Truex. And so that makes it a lot more even, and that makes it more fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. So what is something that most people don't know about you?
Some things people don't know about me is that they think to get into NASCAR, you have to have millions of dollars. We don't have millions of dollars. Some people think, oh, well, she just got it just because she's a female. No, it's because we worked hard for it. It's not because I just got it because I'm a female or because I'm racing for a different cause. It's because we're doing something different and we're working hard for it other than just getting it for a privilege.
Exactly, Lacey. I'm glad you said that because, you know, the concept or the thinking out there is that, yeah, you have to have a lot of money in your family or you have to have a lot of connections. And, you know, in some cases that's true, but that's not always true because there's a lot of opportunity out there if you present yourself well and if you work hard. And I know that you have done that, and I know your parents have been a big help in that area, but there's nothing that takes away from hard work, and I know that you guys have done that. So has racing helped you through anything else in your life, like something that you've learned from being a race car driver? Have you learned something from that that's helped you in another area of your life?
I would say that you can't really deal with anyone that, how should I say it? Because I don't want to say it in the wrong way to come out wrong. I would say you can't really deal with anyone that wants to push you harder than you can actually go. Because even if someone's, like, if they're on track and they're trying to wreck you, you have to keep your calm. It's just a way of just, like, thinking. It's a different thinking, I would say, than most people when you're a race car driver, because if you have someone coming at you on the track, you got to just take it in a different way, because that's saying, oh, well, then I need to be faster than this person, and if they're slower than me, I shouldn't be worrying about them, because then they're going to try to get into your head, and you can't let that happen in real life and in racing. So
exactly, because there are people that like to play mind games, and both in racing and in life. And that's a good thing to learn, to keep your cool, keep your wits about you so that you don't do something stupid and look bad and something that you regret. So that's a really good thing to learn, especially at a young age that you're at. So what do you do for fun when you're not racing?
Well, it's either iRacing, hanging out with friends, because with them being at school and then now the coronavirus, and then most of my friends, well, not really most of them, I have one of my friends, really good friends, Gabby. She comes out and she's going to start helping us with, she's going to start being my PR. So she's going to be doing pictures and doing videos because she loves doing that stuff. So yeah, some of my friends come out, they help with stuff, but it's mostly just hanging out with friends and doing iRacing with friends on there as well. So
okay, well that's all fun stuff. And at 13, you should still have a life besides racing. So I'm glad to hear that. So let's learn a little bit about you. I'm going to ask you some questions that are just about you. Where's your favorite place to vacation?
Favorite place to vacation? Let me see. Well, I love North Carolina just because of the atmosphere around there with racing.
Okay.
But when I go to see family in England from my mom's side, that's a lot of fun going there, and it's so pretty. But yeah, I would have to say North Carolina or Georgia. Other than
All right. I mean, you're still a kid, but what was your favorite toy as a little girl?
I don't really know.
Did you play with dolls or cars?
No, I played with sometimes Barbies, but I didn't really. I don't know. I mostly just watch TV, I would say, for cartoons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday?
Uh-huh.
It would have to be Christmas because it's a time of giving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how about a favorite food or restaurant?
Favorite food? I would have to say Mexican food.
All
I
right.
love Mexican food and
Okay.
Italian food as well. Yeah, those are my favorites.
All right. How about your favorite zoo animal?
I I would have to say elephant because they're so graceful, even though they're so big.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would say no.
All right. And I already asked you if you had a favorite race car driver. So, do you have a track that you especially like to go to race?
Well, when I was racing dirt carts, my favorite track to go to would be Florida Dirt Motor Speedway, just because of hanging out with everyone. But the best atmosphere would have to be Jasper in Jasper, Florida, on the border of Georgia and Florida. That just has the best atmosphere with being in the woods, and that's what I like.
Okay. There's some really, really pretty tracks that people don't realize that when you go to Phoenix, it's out in the middle of the desert, but it's surrounded by, they probably call them hills, mountains, whatever you want to call them. Beautiful, beautiful area. When we went to Sonoma, same thing, beautiful area. Charlotte, again, another beautiful racetrack area. So a lot of people don't think about that. You have a lot of really beautiful scenery and you get to see so many parts of the country when you're a race car driver and you go to all these different tracks. So that's kind of a cool thing to do.
Yeah, speaking of cool tracks, I would say I haven't been here before, but I absolutely love South Boston, just the racing, the track itself. I haven't seen the outside of the track yet, but I just love the track itself. And then one of my favorite tracks I've ever been to would be Anderson. I think it's North Carolina. Yeah, Anderson, North Carolina. And that track is so fun to race at for legend cars. Yeah.
Okay. That's good
We're
to know.
going
I
over
haven't been to that track.
Yeah, we're going over 100 miles an hour down the straights.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then in the turns, I think we're going around 50 or 60 or something. I don't really remember.
So how does your mom handle that or your dad? Are they pretty calm when you're out there racing that fast?
My dad's calm. My mom, I can tell you, sometimes she gets a little crazy. Like, yeah, she'll scream. You can tell in our YouTube videos when I was racing dirt carts. Yeah, she would scream at the wrecks and stuff, but that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One time, my dad came out of turn 1 and 2 at Florida Dirt Motor Speedway, and he came and he hit the cones from the grid where it's asphalt going onto the dirt, and then he went through the grass on the side. And my mom was screaming, and I'm like, "Mom, there's nothing wrong. He didn't even hit anything." Yeah.
Hey, moms can get wound up,
Yeah.
when they see their kids racing. So that's the way it goes. Yeah. So do you have a race?
I think she.
Go ahead.
Huh? What'd you say?
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I just said I think she's used to it now after 6 years of racing now.
Yeah, I'll bet she is. Yeah. So do you have a racing nickname and how did you get it?
I don't really have a nickname. It's just Lacey Cool because that's how you say my last name. So one thing people say, Lacey Cool is really cool. So that's really it.
Okay, so what's the most memorable moment you've had so far in your racing career?
It would be getting my plaque from Villages Motor Racing Fan Club and getting the other plaque from NASCAR. Those
Okay.
are the most memorable. I wouldn't say my first one was that memorable because it wasn't really a big race. It was a rookie race, but I would say getting these awards are more important than me winning, I would say.
Okay. So during a typical week, let's say that you've raced and then now, you're going to get your car ready for the next weekend. Are you pretty hands-on with that, or are there other people that do the actual mechanical part with your car?
So it's mostly just me and my dad that work on the cars. I try to help as much as I can with school, trying to get as much seat time on iRacing and everything. So I'm somewhat hands-on. We just started racing the Legend car. I've only been in one race in our new car, and at North Carolina, we couldn't really touch the car because it was some of the rules and stuff with them. But yeah, so we're just trying to learn as much as we can with the Legend car. So far, yeah, I've been pretty hands-on with it with some people that were helping us. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what's your car? What's the color of your car and the number, and how did you choose your number?
So, well, we have to go after with the charity. So, Drive for Diabetes Awareness. So, my number is the number 4. That is a bright yellow, and then on my Legend car, my fenders on there are red, and the rest of the car is gray. It was funny because when we got the car was actually already painted with the red and the gray fenders. And it was exactly the same as we needed it. So it's kind of a good thing when we got the car that we didn't have to paint the body.
Yeah, that is. That saves on a big expense for sure.
Yeah.
So Lacey, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. There you go.
No, that's all right. So how have you or will you make an impact on the motorsports industry?
I think I've already somewhat made an impact with what people think about what racing really is. Because there are old motorsports people that are racing that think it's all about winning. But what we've been doing, we've been showing that it can be something about other than just the driver, it's themselves, and it can be about someone else or a different like charity that you can race for other than just the driver.
Yes. Very, very, you're very adult for a 13-year-old, which I'm sure has to do with your parents, but your thinking is much more, and I don't want to say sophisticated, but much more grown up than a typical 13-year-old, because 13, we often think teenagers only care about themselves and think about themselves. And pretty much all through this interview, what I've heard you say is, I raced for this, I raced for that. It was never, I did this for Lacey. It's always been about the diabetes or the person that you are racing for. It seems like that's kind of your motivation for racing.
Yeah, it really is with the charity and the people that I race for. I would say the people I race for are 100% my motivation in what I do.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for the charity and if it wasn't for my parents as well as the people that I race for.
Yeah. And that gives you some really good motivation when you know you're doing something for somebody else. It makes them feel good and it makes you feel good.
Oh yeah, it does.
So we're about done here. So I'm going to ask you, how can people follow you on social media? And then after you answer that, is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share?
Well, so you can follow us on Facebook at Drive for Diabetes Awareness Inc. You can go to our YouTube at Drive for Diabetes Awareness. Our Twitter, Check Don't Guess in all caps. Our Instagram is Drive for Diabetes Awareness, and then you can search up Driver Lacey Cool on Instagram as well. And then we also have our website, DFDA. That's one of our most important places for you to go, as well as Facebook. That's where we post the most.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's really it. I would just like to thank a couple people. I would like to thank Taylor and Sons for just helping us with all. And they gave us the trailer. When we were go-karting, they gave us our 16-foot trailer that we're now going to be starting to wrap. And they also gave us some new go-karts. And then I would like to thank everyone that's helped us just throughout our whole racing career, my whole racing career. So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, Lacey, it's been really nice talking to you. I had a nice conversation with your dad a while back, and I had hoped to meet up with you in Daytona, but the weather in Daytona wasn't as cooperative as it would have, could have been. And so we didn't get a chance to meet, but we will meet one of these days, either at the racetrack where you're racing or somewhere else. And I look forward to meeting you and your dad in person. So I just want to thank you for being on, and any final words?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for having me on.
Okay, thank you, Lacey.
Thank
Thank you for listening to Racing Girls Rock Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at International Women's Motorsports Association or on Instagram and Twitter at the IWMA Nation. And if you know someone that should be on our show, drop us an email at iwmanation@gmail.com.